Welcome into NFL Daily. We are live once again, the first week of the football season in the books. The second one going to begin in a matter of a couple days, which is always entertaining. I'm Tom Downey, Stone Shields behind the scenes for today's show. We'll break down all the stuff going on around the NFL, but I want to know something off the front. Did your team win in week one? Why for yes and for no? I know Vincent and Omar's Burners teams won in week one. It took me a second. I thought the Omar Burners profile picture was still Brandon Ayuk for a second. It's actually Devontae Adams, which is pretty funny. So glad to keep up to date there. Shelly says yes as well. Half of you can say yes. Half of you can say no in there. So why for yes and for no? Did your team win in week one of the NFL season, or is it a frustrating result there? SM says no. We'll get to Omar's Burner super chat in a second, assuming they're polling properly. You never know with the way things have gone as of late. Shelly says yes. SM says no. I hope most of your teams won. Some good games, some not so good games this past week in the NFL. Omar's Burner says yes. He's a Steelers fan. Eric Raiders Haters Hunter says hell no. Yeah, that was a rough one for the Raiders. I'm not gonna lie to you. That did not go very well. That one stung, I'm sure. I can't believe the Raiders punted on that. You know that fourth down I'm talking about? I can't believe that they punted. You got to go for it there. Jeff says yes. Omar's Burner representing the AFC North, I suppose, this week. I would let the Bengals, Ravens, and Browns fans represent, but they are 0-1. Also, Tom, rate the profile picture. Appreciate that, Omar. It's a good one. It looks like a pretty smooth edit. I like it. I don't know how realistic it is, but then again, there were various points I felt like there was no chance and almost a guaranteed chance that the Devontae Adams trade was going to happen. So sorry that didn't go down for you, Omar, and I guess happy for the 49ers fans in the comments who did have it happen the way they wanted it to. It's a good profile picture. 6.9 out of 10. Only proper answer there. So did your team win in week one? Michael's a Bears fan. They did. I would maybe argue the Bears didn't lose. The Titans lost that game. Bears didn't win it. Titans lost it. But it goes in the win column, and that's probably what matters the most in the end. Gaming Wizard also says yes. Brian Pearson looks like he's a Saints fan. Great performance out of the Saints. It's only week one. I never want to say a team is cooked after 1 week. The Panthers might be cooked. It might already be over. Not only did the offense look terrible, the defense didn't play great because they borrowed from the defense to make the offense better. Offense didn't get any better, and now they lost Derek Brown for the year. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app over at GameTime.co. Use code ChatSports to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Today's show also made possible by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, just you against the numbers. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS over on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Let's look into our crystal ball after a week of, across the NFL, bad offensive performances, some rust from week one, a lot of we're not giving you the big play strategy on defense. Who do you think is the first quarterback to get benched? Injuries don't count. I would also argue the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation, whether it is Justin Fields or it is Russell Wilson, probably doesn't count either. Who's the first quarterback to get benched? We're probably going to talk about all the names that you mentioned in the comments section here. Evie Dog says Deshaun Watson. We will talk about Deshaun. I know it was a backup offensive line, but it was he invites it on his own. He's out there just holding the ball way too long. He didn't see the field well at all. And that's several years in a row that's been an issue for him. Brian Pearson says the Panthers quarterback will be first to get benched. I would actually be surprised because he was your first overall pick. You kind of have to play him and see what happens. And worst case, he's bad and you get an early round pick. Let's see. Bryce Young is in there. Daniel Jones. I kind of like that pick quite a bit because I don't think that he's good. I don't know what else to say it. We'll see. Kirk Cousins. We'll talk about Kirk Cousins on today's show. Another $5 super chat from Omar's Burner says, rest in peace to Bo Nix. Regardless if Garrett Bowles is out, can't evaluate him from this game. He's going to be running for his life from TJ Watt. I think that everything was negative for Garrett Bowles, so we'll see if he plays or not. I would assume that the game plan out of Sean Payton is going to be get the ball out quickly. At times that was executed in week 1 by Denver. At times it was not. I would anticipate, kind of funny, we make fun a lot of, Bo Nix's air yards per attempt. His ADOT actually wasn't the lowest in week 1. In fact, it was 11th, 6.1. Not very good. Still fairly low there. Other quarterbacks were worse. His time to throw, though, was pretty damn quick. Actually, wait, hold on. It was not quick. I'm looking at the wrong ordering there. 2.84. I think quicker passing game is going to be essential there. Not a surprise that most of the scrambling quarterbacks have a longer time to throw because they can buy more time in the pocket than some of the statues are. But we'll talk about Bo Nix more in depth on today's show. Who's the first quarterback to get benched? Gardner Minshew's a good answer. I did not include him in the veteran quarterback roundup, who I'm worried about. Probably could have, but it would have been too long of a show. I don't think Geno's getting benched. I kind of like Geno. I don't think week 1 was necessarily the best performance out of Smith, but I don't think it was bad necessarily either. In a week in which, as unusual as this is, more quarterbacks this week had a negative EPA per dropback, expected points added. It's a good overall health of your offense stat. Not always great for individual stuff. More quarterbacks had a negative EPA per dropback than they had a positive one. That was not the case last year. And the case it was guys that were getting benched, but even then it was still more positive. So defenses won the week, very much so, in week 1. And Stroud Prod says Dak for Lance, and he's kidding. He's kidding. Thank you. We got Thursday night football just around the corner. B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. I'm excited for this one. The Dolphins have some injuries in the backfield. Might be Jalen Wright's time to shine. Somebody has him on there. I got a text from my buddy who was decimated by injuries running back, and he goes, was going to see who had Jalen Wright and you to claim him off waivers, and you had him, you MFer. There you go. I know ball. He also loves Jalen. He and I both love Jalen Wright. We're both in media. As a Josh Allen, James Cook fantasy owner with no rooting interest, maybe the Bills. As a chat sports host who doesn't cover either team, no rooting interest. We only have a Dolphins channel, so probably good for business if the Dolphins win. So either or for me. B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. Get those answers in for me in the comments of today's show. And if you are ready for today's show to start, then like that video. Almost got to the 50% like ratio. Pretty close. About 8, hashtag math. No, about 8 likes away from that. So if you haven't already, like that video for me right now. Coming up on today's live show, news, rumors, general week 1 thoughts, takeaways that I had, a mailbag, 2 ways to get on the show, use hashtag NFL, or skip the line and super chat like Omar's Burner did earlier. If you have to use hashtag NFL, otherwise Stone can't find them. There's a filter set on so that he doesn't scroll through 18 B's and D's when looking for comments. So if you have questions, thoughts, whatever it is on the NFL, throw them in via hashtag NFL in the live chat right now. We will also run through the latest Mel Kiper big board. All that's coming up live right now here on NFL Daily. Coming up on this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports, Haason Reddick updates. Not looking great up in New York. We'll talk about the rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels. Some veteran quarterbacks who did not look good in week one that raised more concerns than other teams maybe. And some injury news across the NFL. But first, did your team win in week one? Half of you, in theory, half of you say yes, half of you say no, but maybe only the happy fans are watching today's show. So, did your team win in week one? Y for yes, N for no. Let's talk the latest here on Haason Reddick. He is still, as of filming, holding out from the New York Jets, and big question marks as to when that's going to end. He's foregoing almost $80K per week in game checks, and about $5 million in fines that he has to pay and has forfeited because he hasn't shown up to the Jets organization. Meanwhile, the Jets miss him on the field, or at least miss what he was supposed to be since he was never technically there in the end. Some pressure stats from New York against the 49ers, all per NFL's next-gen stats. Upgraded. I like the new version's really good. A lot of good info in there. 32 dropbacks, pressured 12 times. Not that bad. However, just 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit. And what is most telling to me about this particular metric is where those pressures came from. 3 of them came from Javon Kinlaw, the former Niner now playing DT for the Jets. 2 of them came for Quinnen Williams. 1 came from C.J. Mosley. 1 from Solomon Thomas, who's more of a kind of hybrid player, but we'll put him at DT. Sauce Gardner got 1 on a blitz. Tony Adams got 1 on a blitz. 6 from their edges. Jermaine Johnson, Mykel Clements, I thought actually played pretty well, and Will McDonald IV combined for 6 of the team's 12 pressures on those dropbacks. For a Jets team that would like to win with 4 more often than not, that doesn't want to necessarily be a big blitzing team, for a team that let Bryce Huff walk to bring in Haason Reddick and replace the pass rush that way, they really miss him. Like I think that they... Here's the tricky bit. Like, adding Haason Reddick back to this team is what they are searching for. Like, that is the pass rusher who is at one of 2 players with 11-plus sacks in 4 straight years running Myles Garrett. The problem with this Haason Reddick issue, I don't know what the solution is here. If you're the Jets, you can't really pay him. And if you're Reddick, you're kind of pretty well entrenched in not showing up. I don't know what, like, the fair solution is for all parties involved. There's, at some point, somebody's got to blink. It kind of can't be the Jets, and Reddick's pretty well entrenched. So it's kind of a weird situation there. I think in the end, at some point, Reddick shows up. Maybe it is this week. Maybe he makes his point in week 1 and shows up for week 2. What week do you think Reddick ends up reporting to the Jets? And none is an option, too, if you want to go down that path as well. But let me know in the comment section of today's show, what week do you think Haason Reddick shows up to the Jets? Next up, the rookie quarterbacks who played didn't have their best stuff in week 1, which isn't necessarily a huge surprise. Passing offenses around the NFL were down, and these are young QBs who faced some tough defenses. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders got Todd Bowles in the Bucs defense. That's not easy. The end results were better for Daniels. They kind of got some success late in the game, some garbage time stuff. He ran the ball well. There's still times the middle of the field got to be better. He's got to be more decisive, more active, make those decisions quickly. 2 sacks, 2 fumbles. They did get both of them back. Is something to monitor there. Week 1, it's a loss. You probably weren't going to win anyway, but there's some progress there. Some positivity. I thought of the rookie QBs probably had the best game. Not exactly a very high bar. Bo Nix, 3.3 yards per attempt ain't it. That's not going to be good enough. 2 sacks, had a rushing touchdown, 2 interceptions, 26 of 42 for 138 yards. Again, you're playing the Mike McDonald defense. That's a tough one. He did a lot of fun stuff there with the Ravens, but that's not good enough out of Bo Nix. He will look much better in the preseason. Different animal once the real games begin. Then Caleb Williams. Denard Wilson comes from that Ravens tree, so again, there's some confusing stuff on defense there. 14 of 29 for 93 passing yards. 2 sacks, kept the fumble he lost, 3.2 yards per attempt. Gotta be better across the board. I think you get those week one jitters out of the ways. They'll probably be better as the year goes on, but a lot of growth needed out of Caleb Williams as the Bears and company before. Same with Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels, too. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. They have a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets for football, comedy, concerts, theater, and more. The Game Time Guarantee means you'll always get the best price. You find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Let's stick with our quarterback conversation, brief and not nearly as in-depth as the full-on film studies that we did to prep for, but we're not going to show the all-22 because we don't want to get in trouble. Let's talk Kirk Cousins. I have concerns. I think many of you might, coming out of week one. 16 of 26, 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.0 yards per attempt. Kirk Cousins at his best. Under center, play action. He thrives under it. So guess what the Falcons did in week one? Ton of pistol. And that concerns me, not because it's pistol, yay, that's fine. What worries me the most here is I don't know if that is because they want to maximize the pistol sets for Kirk Cousins or if they don't trust him to move coming off the Achilles. He didn't move much at all. And I am worried that is going to be a issue for Atlanta long term. If that offense doesn't get more explosive with all those playmakers, at some point, we're going to have the Mykel Penix conversation about him starting. Meanwhile, over to the New York Football, not good at passing Giants, Daniel Jones. It was just bad. There's no way around it. 22 of 42 for 186 yards in an offense that was just so dialed back, trying to make life easy on him. He had 5 sacks in this game. It's not all the offensive line's fault. He just doesn't feel pressure well. By the way, he's got more pick sixes to the opposing team than touchdowns to his own team the past 2 years. Now, he missed a bunch of games, but still, he's not good. And frankly, he's actually never been good. There was one season where the Giants won a bunch of games despite him, or he didn't cost them too much. They got him paid $40 million. It's been a massive mistake. Deshaun Watson, meanwhile, look, we're going to have the Drew Lock, Daniel Jones conversation. My buddy Marshall Green already wants to have that conversation. At some point, the Browns have to rip the Band-Aid off of the Deshaun Watson mistake. They paid him a ridiculous amount of money, having not played football in a year. I always thought he was not. I always thought he was overrated. He wasn't. I don't think he was actually a top 5 QB. He put up a bunch of stats on a bad Texans team. He was terrible against Cowboys. And I know they were down their starting 2 offensive tackles. Watson's got to throw the damn ball. How many times does he drop back and not go to the first read? He didn't see the field. He got confused a bunch. He's always had bad pocket presence. It could have been 8 or 9 if he didn't break a bunch of tackles, which is good for him. At some point, you have to wonder, in terms of winning games right now, if Jameis Winston's a better option, which is a terrifying thought, and they probably won't because of the money involved. But man, he was bad again. He hasn't been good in 4 years. That's how long it's been. So who do you think ends up being the first quarterback benched? One we did not discuss was Gardner Minshew. Certainly a valid option there as well. Who do you think is the first quarterback who ends up getting benched this year? Drop that player name for me in the comments. I think Steelers don't count, by the way. They're kind of already doing weird stuff with the injuries and everything. Let's hit injury news here. Rapid fire across the NFL. T. Higgins, hamstring at practice last week. Doubt he can play in week 2. We'll see if he does or doesn't, but there is doubt there. Higgins is basically the super expensive sports car. Like, when you can drive it, it's awesome. It is constantly broken down somehow. And the durability is a massive red flag for him. Christian McCaffrey, with what Kyle Shanahan is now calling Achilles tendonitis, which sends off red flags galore there. His calf injury is lingering. Status for week 2 is unknown. Go add Jordan Mason with your waiver wire and your fab budgets, whatever. That certainly makes sense. Puka Nacua, meanwhile, who was banged up so much of training camp, he's going to go on IR. Missed at least 4 games with a sprained PCL. Cooper Kupp got force-fed targets. That's going to happen again. The Rams in general are insanely decimated by injuries. They have lost so many parts of the offense up front on the offensive line. Nacua, some defensive banged-up players. I actually feel bad for the Rams. That's kind of how you have a sunk season when it's not your fault that all your guys got hurt. For more NFL news, rumors, injury updates, and everything else in between, hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv for more NFL updates. Let's talk tight ends here. Jake Ferguson, a sprained MCL and a bone bruise, but he has not been ruled out yet for week 2. I would be surprised if he played. I would frankly call that a mistake by the Cowboys if they played him. It's week 2. Don't make a potential sprain into a full-on tear by having him play through it. Well, it's the Cowboys. They lie about injuries a lot. They might just be trying to play coy against the Saints. David Njoku, high ankle sprain. They signed Jeff Swain to the practice squad. I kind of thought Fox did a bad job on the highlight. They showcased that the hit that was high and not the part that got injured, which was low. Like, he limped off the field, and they showcased the defender squeezing him up high. Like, that didn't really make any sense to me. But he's going to miss time. And maybe the most devastating injury news of the day. Adding injury to the insult that was week 1, Derek Brown is out for the season per the Panthers team website with a meniscus injury. He was by far, sorry J.C. Horn, their best defensive player, and now you're not going to have him for the season. Panthers are in a really rough spot after week 1. And then the one that happened on Friday, Jordan Love. Still some murkiness about the injury. He's not going to play this week. I'd be shocked if he did. Sounds like 3 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL very late in that game against Philadelphia. Packers aren't going to put him on IR. Maybe it's a short-term absence, but it's going to be Malik Willis in Green Bay. By the way, week 2 is Packers and Malik Willis, who just doesn't throw the football when it's available. Like, I'm going to ramble and rant. Malik Willis taking a sack on the Hail Mary is the most Malik Willis play ever. You just have to throw the football. And he doesn't trigger fast enough. He does it all the time. Anytime there's a deep dig, sees it, doesn't throw it. That is who Malik Willis is as a football player. It was very on brand for him. It's also against the Colts defense, which lost one of their best players. Juju Brents, by the way, to injury. He's out for the year. It's a bad secondary. It's a stoppable force against a movable object. Can't wait to see who wins in week 1. Who we got in the Thursday night game? By the way, quick injury note for you guys. Not practicing the Dolphins' top 2 running backs, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. So we'll see about those guys. Would mean Jeff Wilson and the super explosive Jalen Wright, who I love dearly. Excited to see him. So get your who you got in B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. I did not build the graphic because I'm an idiot. We will have a mailbag coming up here. Maybe go to the L3 version with it. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to skip the line to get on the show. Several good questions that I saw, or comments, whatever you want to call them, didn't have the hashtag NFL parts. Can't find it otherwise. So get your hashtag NFL questions in. Someone also did like hashtag NFL, which I thought was really funny. Put that little text down there. Hashtag NFL, then whatever your question is, all in one sentence there. So we can bring it up on screen, answer it, and have some fun for. I always enjoy the mailbags. It's just off the cuff, talking about football. It's not that different than what dudes do, sit around talking football and naming random players and everything. Get your questions in, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Now, if you guys like our live shows and you like our mailbags, then like today's video. allows me to show the bosses, see, you guys do want this. This is the content that you guys care about and want to watch. Otherwise, if you guys don't want to watch it, there's no point in us doing it. That's boring for all parties involved. So like that video if you want more of these moving forward. From Gaming Wizard, are the Bucks the NFC South favorites? Yeah, I think so. After what we saw in week 1, your pecking order probably goes Bucks, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. Sorry, Panthers fans, you know I'm right. Bucks are the defending champion. I thought they played very well against the Commanders. I loved what I saw at Baker Mayfield, by the way. I like that. That offense was really fun with Liam Cohen. I hope that continues. The Commanders are not great talent on defense, so I think that's going to be an issue for them. But I like what I saw out of the Bucks. I think the Saints were impressive. I'm optimistic the Falcons can bounce back after week 1, and Carolina's probably just going to be bad again. From Big Boy 03, should the Panthers blow it up and trade Bryce Young? So I'm going to go with no. And there's a couple reasons for that all kind of play into the same end game here. You don't have anybody on your roster right now that's going to be an actual long-term answer for you, right? It's Andy Dalton, and the practice squad quarterback is there even one? Looking at my depth chart. It's Jack Plummer. Okay, no. So the best path right now for Carolina is this. You give Bryce Young the entire season. And in fact, I would actually probably give him next year as well. And that sounds weird, but the worst case scenario is Bryce Young just is a bust. He's not good. And Carolina has 2 straight years of early draft picks. And what I don't want the Panthers to do, this team needs talent. They have traded away Brian Burns. They have traded away DJ Moore. And a bunch of draft assets and haven't really replenished its overall talent. What they should do, play out this season. Let's see how Bryce Young, if he gets better, awesome. If he doesn't, okay. Give him the 3 years. And say if it's still bad after year 3, what we're going to do in this upcoming draft is we're going to trade that pick. We're going to acquire the assets we lost trading up for Bryce Young, and then we'll reset for the 2026 draft class, which, maybe it's the Tennessee quarterback or the Oklahoma quarterback or Arch Manning or whoever it ends up being, whatever, and you can actually build a roster a little bit better and then drop your quarterback in. What I don't want to do is have the Panthers be bad, get the number 1 pick, spend it on Carson, Beck, or Shadur Sanders, or Quinn Ewers, or whatever, and then, the roster's still bad, and you flip Bryce Young for a 3rd or a 4th round pick. That's not, I don't think that's a good strategy, or maybe you get a 2nd if you're lucky with conditions or whatever. I would rather give Bryce Young time and build the roster around him in the meantime for him or the next guy. Long answer, I guess, but will Bryce Young be a bust? Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's show, so that ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Brian Pearson, I think the Saints are going to keep rolling here and make the playoffs in your honest opinion. I think we will learn a hell of a lot more about the Saints in week 2 on the road against the Dallas Cowboys than we did week 1 against Carolina. I mean, the Saints did everything they wanted to on offense. To put it in perspective, blitz rates from week 1. Let me make sure I'm reading off my proper stats here. Highest blitz rate in week 1. That's last season. My bad. The Panthers blitzed opposing quarterbacks near the top of the NFL. Derek Carr was blitzed at a 44% rate. That was 3rd highest. Now, when you go to the pressures that he faced, Derek Carr was pressured a grand total of 4 times. That was dead last. So the Panthers brought pressure, they blitzed a bunch, and they never got home. When that happens, you are screwed on defense. You're just not going to have success. I do think their offense was way better. I think that the Clint Kubiak hire was a really good one for the Saints. I feel a lot better about them than maybe you did before week 1. That's a blow, and how can I feel better? We'll know a lot more after week 2. And maybe we'll swing way too far in one direction, back to the other, and then kind of settle in a little bit more. I think they will push for a playoff spot this year, though. Today's show is made possible by our good friends over at Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. What I love most about it, it's just you against the numbers. You're not battling against thousands of players, got to be top percentile, whatever. You just beat the numbers. And in September, they're giving you a freebie. Caleb Williams was not good in week 1, but he got the half passing yard. That's all you needed. It's the freebie. A little college football prize pick slate for you, too, because it's fun. Why not? Travis Hunter, more than 91.5 receiving yards. I think that's going to be an explosive, high-scoring game. I don't think Colorado's defense is good enough. That's going to be a shootout, I suspect. Hunter will get involved. Quinn Ewers, a little bit more aggressive there against UTSA. He might throw for 300 in the first 3 quarters, but then it's Arch Manning time. So, download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play 5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Omar's burner. Any chance we see Trey Lance start at some point this year? If the Cowboys have clinched something or are locked into something in Week 18, maybe. I don't think. Even if there's an injury, they still might go with Cooper Rush because I think he's better right now, and I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. I actually my crazy take is I actually don't hate the idea of the Cowboys just bringing back Trey Lance next year and trying to keep growing and developing him. He's still pretty young. He's Bo Nix's age. So now as a backup option, that's a much different conversation than him. Oh, he could be your starter, right? So not in a game that matters, hopefully, for the Cowboys. From Saquad's Barkley. The profile picture checks out. Do you think Poles had the biggest fleece ever made with the Panthers? It is not the biggest fleece ever. That is still the Herschel Walker trade between the Cowboys and the Vikings that really helped set up that Cowboys dynasty back in the 90s. But recent memory, it sure is up there. Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and picks for Bryce Young. Oh, boy. That was a no-brainer. I think, frankly, the real source of the Panthers' issues is ownership. Ownership meddles way too much in Carolina. They are impatient. They force the hands of things. They don't make the best hires in the front office, etc. It was a huge win for Chicago, no doubt about it, and hopefully sets up Chicago long-term. But I still think the Walker trade was bigger. From A-Train. Do you agree with Marshall? That's Marshall Green, I assume, our Giants host, that the Giants should bench Daniel Jones? Probably. Marshall makes a very good point. This isn't year 1 of Daniel Jones. This is year 6. We know who he is. We can't keep coming up with a different excuse every week of, was the right tackle, the left. The quarterback has been a constant. There have been times the supporting cast fails him, absolutely. But at some point, your quarterback has to elevate somebody around him. When was the last time Daniel Jones elevated a supporting cast member? I don't think that's ever really happened. And I think it's very clear the coaching staff does not trust him. The front office tried to trade up for Drake May. There is massive doubts about Daniel Jones. And at a certain point, like the Giants, is ownership going to say, you know what, you got to start winning games no matter what, or we're going to fire you? Brian Daboll's calling the plays. That is not a move made by a head coach that's confident in his job. It's just not. I don't think Drew Lock is going to be an actual answer either, but he might be able to give you some more explosive plays through the air. So what do you think? Should the Giants bench Daniel Jones? S, to keep starting him, give him more time. B, for its time, make the bench happen. Let me know in the comments. Stroud Prods, at the trade deadline, I think Fields will be on the board. Get these picks from the Giants, Raiders. So I think this goes not just for Fields, but any quarterback you'd want to trade for, whoever it ends up being, I think this fits. If that quarterback, for Fields and Pittsburgh in particular, if Fields plays well enough to get a decent pick on a rental from the Giants or the Raiders, why would Pittsburgh trade him? At that point, like, Pittsburgh's going to want to keep him. They're like, no, he's our starter, right? Because, like, Pittsburgh, I honestly don't think Pittsburgh's going away from Justin Fields if they keep winning games and he keeps playing and he plays well. Like, it's just not how they operate. Like, it's really hard to bench a winning quarterback when the other guy is not established. This is not a Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott thing where Dak was established and Rush wasn't actually playing all that well in reality. This is the young quarterback, the younger guy, first-round pick. The Steelers would love it if Justin Fields took that job. So the Giants and Raiders need a quarterback. They also, I think, are probably better off keeping that draft asset and spending it in the actual draft on a QB or using it to trade up to get a QB. Because I don't think there's that much value with the current version of Fields on a rental contract. Chat Sports has the best NFL videos here on YouTube. News, rumors, mailbags, and more. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. John Fleming, will Dallas look for another tight end with the Ferguson injury? I doubt it. Yeah, it's going to be a short-term injury for Jake Ferguson, it sounds like. So I think you'll see Luke Schoonmaker play a bigger role. They like Brevin Spann-Ford. Maybe John Stevens Jr. gets healthy. Hunter Lipke's going to play some tight end too. If it were a season-ending injury, different conversation, but short-term, I don't think so. Kev Daddy, could the Commanders, that sounds weird by the way, trade someone older, not to be rude to your username there, Kev, some older players like Jonathan Allen and Terry McLaurin? I doubt I'd be shocked if they flip McLaurin. Like, in general, you almost never see young QBs lose a huge asset, their number one playmaker, because you want to give that playmaker to the QB so they can get better and they have actual options around them. Like, you don't want to have a Bryce Young situation from last year. You don't want to have early Daniel Jones. There's just nobody good on that team, right? Allen, maybe if they end up flipping, if they're bad at the deadline, Allen could be a name that ends up getting moved. I want you guys to put your trade ideas for me, ideally good ones, in the comments section of today's show. Whatever trade ideas you've cooked up in the lab, drop them for me in the comments of today's show. Stroud Prides, what QBs do the Giants be signing or trading for? I don't think a big splashy quarterback move is going to happen like this season. That race kind of done been run already. Maybe, I mean, like, you can call about Ryan Tannehill. Does that move the needle for you? That doesn't make you a playoff team. So at that point, what's kind of the benefits from an organizational philosophy? You're better off, maybe if he wins you 2 extra games and he wins 6, you're actually better off winning 4 at that point. So I think off season, everything's on the table. You're probably gonna try to draft somebody, would be my guess. But I think short term, gotta let it ride with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, and hell, maybe put Tommy DeVito back in there just for the fan base and the memes. Brian Pearson, who is the first coach, it's the last one by the way, to get fired this year in your opinion? Might be Brian Dable. And I don't think that's really fair. I think he's kind of gotten screwed by the quarterback situation, but there was some issues there between Brian Dable and Wink Martindale that I think certainly raised some red flags. If the Jets don't figure stuff out, Robert Saleh's certainly going to be in the hot seat. I have a very tough time seeing the Raiders firing Antonio Pierce after 1 year. Like, that's so much money sunk into fired coaches in a short time frame. Just seems highly unlikely. I actually don't think you can fire Kevin Stefanski. I think he's too good of a coach. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, he refuses to let anyone but Press Taylor call the plays, and that's not a good idea as far as I'm concerned. If the Eagles or Cowboys fall apart, those teams stand out as possibilities. Beyond that, if the Saints fall apart, Dennis Allen is very much on the hot seat. But there's a lot of turnover last year. Might not be as much this season. All right, who shocked you who was the biggest surprise, I should say, from week 1? Get your votes in for me. Like, Joey's like, get Tannehill, Winston. Like, those quarterbacks aren't getting you to the playoffs. Like, they might be better than Daniel Jones. It's a low bar right now, but doesn't actually do anything for you because you're not a playoff team. I don't think. I don't think that roster is built enough and ready enough to be a playoff team. And those guys aren't great options anyway. Like, they are what they are. Like, I get No more Daniel Jones. Give Drew Lock a chance then. It's probably not going to work either, but you probably got to painfully ride it out for one more year. Xavier Worthy as a surprise. Man, Andy Reid was in his bag. I don't know if you caught that game live, Stone. You could tell he'd been in the lab all offseason. Like, let me cook some fun shit. Like, they drafted Xavier Worthy. He's like, I'm going to do all this motion shit and do that. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Let's see. Xavier Worthy's in there. Let's see. I know surprises. Patriots is the right one. I forget who it was asked me on last week's live mailbag. Hey, Tom, can the Patriots beat the Bengals? I'm like, no, they're not going to beat the Bengals. It's the Bengals are a good team. And then the Patriots beat the Bengals, and I made the classic mistake. Bengals in September are actually just outright bad, Stone. You're our Bengals breakdown host. Why is it that the Bengals in September look like the disaster class era Browns where they can't move the ball at all?
Yeah, that's absolutely a great question. I thought it was going to end this year. And then when it didn't, I was like, well, that's just stupid of me. This is what the Bengals do. It's a yearly tradition. You get excited about football coming back, and then they go out there and lose week 1. So they play their best football at the end of the year, so got that to look forward to, but they got to figure out these slow starts at some point.
Yeah, very much agree on that one. That's just not – it just can't keep happening. And it's the same issues, too. Like, they can't run the ball effectively. They're all check down stuff on offense. The defense can't tackle. Like, you got to – that ends up being on Zach Taylor in the end there. It is what it is there. Biggest surprise was the Bears' defense and special teams winning the game. Very accurate. Which Titans blew that game. I feel bad for Titans fans. Like, that one hurts. That one hurt. I think the Anthony Richardson, was he a winner or an L? That is the ultimate question. I don't know. He was like in so many ways the opposite of the rest of the NFL this week. He only had explosive plays, it felt like. That freaking bomb throw to Pearce was unbelievable. Like, there's like 5 humans on the planet that can make that throw, if that. Like, Mahomes can probably do it. Josh Allen can do it. Prime Stafford, and that might be the entire list. And even then, it's like a 20% chance they hit it because it's such a hard throw to actually pull off. But he also like missed a bunch of easy throws. He's an enigma, wrapped in a conundrum. It's something. It's something. Welcome into today's show. I am Tom Downey. We're taking a look at Mel Kiper's 2025 NFL Draft Big Board today. He updated this a couple days ago. We're going to go 1 to 25 and also mention some players that did not make the list. Number 1, Travis Hunter. Now, I actually don't mind Hunter being on here. At some level, I do think ESPN has kind of really pushed the Colorado narrative a little bit more than maybe they should have. But as it specifically relates to Travis Hunter, I get it. That dude is unbelievable in the amount of plays he's able to be out there. I think he's probably a better cornerback than he is right now wide receiver. And there's a lot more highlight reel plays at wide receiver because it's easier to see on the broadcast. But like, I genuinely would let him try both ways. If he was only a receiver, he'd be a first-round pick guaranteed. If he were only a receiver or only a corner, he'd be a first-round pick. So where would you guys play Travis Hunter in the NFL? WR for wide receiver, CB for cornerback, or B for, you know what? You're going to try out both of those spots. Let me know in the comments of today's show. There's not that many surprising things on this list, and Will Johnson being number 2 is certainly not a surprise either. I think he got a little bit greedy at times against Fresno State. And I will make note, this was before the week 2 matchups is when Mel did this list. But Will Johnson is a stud. He is sticky in coverage. He offers so much of what you're looking for in a potential number 1 corner. I also appreciate James Pearce Jr. being so high on this list. Highly impactful last year. I'm excited to see him play the SEC slate as we get forward into this upcoming season out of Tennessee. He's a little bit thinner than I typically prefer in edges, but this is flavor of ice cream stuff here. I like it when my edge rushers have speed and bend and athletic ability, because I think that allows them to do more things. Those guys are harder to find than the power rushers. Now, he's played 39 snaps this year. Tennessee's blown out a bunch of teams. So more to come from that perspective for him. Mykel Williams out of Georgia got nicked up in the first game, has also only played 20 snaps so far. Pearce and Williams are still both a little bit on the projection side. Certainly more so Williams than Pearce Jr. is. But the traits are there, and traits matter a lot, especially in this year's draft class. Number 5, Malaki Starks. Mel made some pretty major changes from his last update, and they're for the best. I think he got some, hey, do this from NFL people. By the way, Malaki Starks is that one interception, the way he's in the slot and he covers the slot fade and makes the pick. That's prime Earl Thomas stuff. And he's bigger than Earl Thomas was. Let that sink in. Number 6, Abdul Carter out of Penn State. You're going to get Micah Parsons comparisons here, and I don't hate that. I think he's a little not the greatest game against Bowling Green, frankly. I thought he kind of better against Bowling Green, I guess, than West Virginia, but I need to see more pass rush impact. It's been a little bit quiet so far to start from Carter. He's moved from off-ball linebacker down to pure edge there. So I think more progress needed, but I thought headed in the right direction. How about that? I think you can argue Mason Graham should be even higher on this list. Now, I get that there is the stench of the Texas game, and the Texas game, the results are going to be what they are. That was really more of an offensive problem for Michigan than it was a defensive issue, despite the final score. It's tough when your offense can't really move the football. But Graham is your next first-round pick from the defensive line out of Michigan. Who do you think is the best player in the 2025 NFL? I think all those top 7 players you can make arguments for, plus some others we'll get to here on today's show. Let me know in the comments right now. Number 8, Carson Beck out of Georgia. This is the first quarterback on Mel's list. Number 2, by the way, is at number 9. We'll just merge these guys together. It's Shedeur Sanders. I think Sanders, of what he's able to physically do, I think there's a higher ceiling than there is with Carson Beck. I think Beck is... I'm a little bit worried that it's you're going to get Jared Goff out of Carson Beck. And, that's a good quarterback. But if that's the ceiling, that's a different conversation of how much is really valuable there. I like a lot of what Shedeur Sanders does. I hate the Colorado offensive line. Also, Shedeur, you can't say that the offensive line is bad. You can't... he's not wrong when he points out that Dylan Raiola never got hit in the Nebraska game, and he did. But, buddy, that is not leadership. And it's not necessarily fair. I kind of think one of the biggest questions Shedeur Sanders is going to have to answer is not on the field. It's all the stuff off of it. It's the band's fight song is his rap song. There's a lot of extra stuff that comes along with doing the Sanders stuff that is going to be a real question mark for teams, fair or not. Tataroya McMillan out of Arizona. Who here watched the New Mexico game? Did anyone stay up late and watch that? That game was stupid. He put up 300 yards of offense. He didn't do much against Northern Arizona because that's NAU. He's kind of a weird prospect. He's big. He's 6'5", 210, 215, but he's not good in contested catches, and 200 of his yards here come out of the slot. He's like a skinny giant slot. He's kind of a unique prospect, but, that size and that movement ability, you take that every time. All right, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets to your next college football game, your next NFL game, the last-second baseball game if you want to go to that one, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Whatever event you're going to, Game Time has you covered. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the industry, by the way. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Again, not many complaints I have on this list here. Kelvin Banks is number 11, the tackle out of Texas. He will be Texas's first round pick at tackle in a very, 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 very long time. I would like to see Luther Burden higher on this list. Now, he hasn't played good competition yet, so 64 yards doesn't matter when you're playing Buffalo and you don't need your number one playmaker out there. He was awesome in 2023. I get some shades of not as good, but Jamar Chase after the catch, yak machine guy. I like a lot of what I see out of Burden. Will Campbell, he's going to battle with Kelvin Banks all year long for tackle number 1. Not his best showing against USC. I think it wasn't as dominant as I was hoping it was going to be. I think in particular the run blocking kind of needs some work, but he has a lot of pressure this year, and that's always a good sign. Benjamin Morrison, the Notre Dame cornerback. We will ignore the whatever the hell that was against NIU in week 2. Marcus Freeman just might be a play down to the level of opponent coach. It might be who he is. I thought he was good against Texas A&M. NIU didn't throw the ball outside of the one big chunk play they had for the most part. He's going to be a first-round pick, too. Tight end 1 for pretty much everybody is Colston Loveland. Got to have better ball security. Can't be fumbling when your quarterback actually gets you the ball. His numbers are going to be limited because I don't know if that Michigan offense is going to be able to move the ball effectively very much through the air. Quinn Ewers, hey, he looked pretty good against Michigan, didn't he? I do wonder if that was one of his best games as a quarterback. The one thing I'm still searching for out of Quinn Ewers, I thought he was much better deep ball thrower against Michigan. That was a big, big question mark I had about him. I think he's actually been good the first 2 games. Now it's sideline stuff. Still some of those more challenging downfield throws, they challenge him a little bit. He benefits from the Steve Sarkisian offense. In a not great quarterback class, though, Quinn Ewers looked pretty damn good the first 2 weeks. I just want to see a little bit better, more NFL throws. He can make every throw. I just want to see him do it more consistently, which you might not see that much of in the Texas offense, which, by the way, is a good thing for college football. It makes life easier. I think Quinn Ewers has a chance to be quarterback 1 if he keeps this level of play. If this growth that we have seen so far through 2 games stays consistent. Who will be QB 1 in this year's class? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 17, another Michigan player. 4 players, and they got their butts kicked by Texas, but that's what happens when you don't have a quarterback. Kind of whelmed so far by the play of Kenneth Grant. Not as good as I thought he was going to be. I want to see more out of him, but he's a freaky athlete. Jalen Walker, who, I'll make note, Mel has not caught up with the times yet. He's not a linebacker. He's listing him as a linebacker. He means outside linebacker, 3-4 edge rusher. I hate that Mel does it. He was great against Clemson. Got a chance to play he got 244 snaps total last year. Wasn't really on anybody's radar. He was very good against Clemson. He skyrocketed on this list almost entirely, or at least in large part to what we saw against Clemson. Ashton Jeanty, boy, he sure looks like RB1, doesn't he? I mean, he ran all over Jordan Southern. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does against Oregon. How good is he going to be? Ran all over them. Boise State almost upset Oregon because of Ashton Jeanty. He's got 275 yards after contact this season. 275 yards. That is absolute insanity. To be 2 games in and you're at 275. That doesn't happen very frequently in college football. He's not necessarily the fastest player, but he, I think, is by far the best pure runner in this class. And I think he's going to he's putting himself in position, at least, to be the first back taken in this year's NFL draft class. To put it in perspective, so he obviously leads the nation in rushing yards entering week 3 at 459. His yards after contact alone would put him 8th. If you only give him the yards that he has broken tackles on, he is 8th in rushing yards. That's insane, man. OSU's Tyleik Williams, the defensive lineman who does have some fans across the NFL. Nothing overly shocking to put him on there. I think it's still a lot of projection involved with him, but there's a lot of OSU players who are going to be in that top 50 conversation. Now, if you guys love the NFL draft, we'll have more coverage for you here on Chat Sports. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Hit that sub button right now. Let's go to Emory Jones. I'll go a little bit quicker on some of these because I'm getting a little bit long-winded, which, you know what, maybe it's fine. Kind of didn't think he had a great game against USC. Again, the run blocking for LSU, new coaching staff maybe is to blame there. I think there's a lot more room to grow as we get an SEC play there. Siobhan Ravel. It's kind of funny how much Mel's board looks like Dane's board, by the way. That's kind of funny how that panned out. Maybe they both know what they're doing. They are professionals after all. ECU's corner. It's been targeted 12 times. Has allowed 4 yards this year. That's pretty good. He doesn't allow very many catches. It's the mark of a good corner. He will not be tested very much, I suspect, in conference games this season. Ariante Essery, the tackle out of Minnesota. A big boy up front. A very large human being, which, for whatever reason, Minnesota's had a few of those guys come through. He's listed at 6'6", 330. He's massive. Better last year than what we've seen so far, but that's okay. Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, the transfer from Purdue. A very nice 69 snaps this year. The Notre Dame offense is probably just bad, so I thought his play overall maybe was just it was good. Again, SC play to come there. And one of my favorite players this year, Deion Walker out of Kentucky. You don't find players who are utilized the way that Deion Walker is. They've given him 4 off-ball snaps this year. You guys know how big he is? He's 6'6", 345. And they put him off ball. They put him 7 times outside as an edge rusher. They did that a bunch in 2023. Like it's unbelievable his size. He is a freaky human being he might be a combine riser coming from Kentucky. He's going to be an early pick. Who do you think Mel Kiper left off of his NFL draft big board? Let me know in the comments section of today's show who you think Mel left off that top 25. There's a lot of prospects he left off here. I want to drop a couple quick names that I like. Elike Omenor out of Stanford. You guys aren't going to watch Stanford games. I don't expect you to. Stanford's not going to be a good team this year probably. Elike is damn good. Bit of a slow-ish start, I guess, this year. But he's a special player. Emeka Ibuka, one of several OSU players, so put all the other guys you want to put in there right there. Jonah Savanaia out of Arizona, could be a top 50 pick. Tyler Booker is Bama's best shot to have probably a first-round pick. That streak might come to an end. Barrett Carter and Harold Perkins, probably the top 2 linebackers this year. I like Takario Davis, and I also like Denzel Burke as well. Who you got? Thursday Night Football. B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. Our Dolphins channel, by the way, will be live for that game. Get your votes in. B or D. The Dolphins have 57% of the votes. Stone, who do you got winning this one? Dolphins or Bills in week 2?
This game always is interesting. I always end up betting on the Dolphins, and it always ends up biting me. So we'll see. I really like what Josh Allen did week 1. He is an absolute freak. And I think I might switch it up this year. I like Tua a lot, but Josh Allen, I kind of like what Buffalo's got going on. I know they don't have, the big names on the outside anymore. I know Dalton Kincaid didn't do much last week, but I'm looking for him to have a big year at that tight end spot. And, I think anytime Josh Allen's out there, you have a lot of confidence, so you can go out there and get a win.
Weather might be an issue.
For Tua.
Who knows? It's Miami in September. There's often some rain in there.
Yeah.
Not going to be as hot, though, at least.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a Thursday night game. Forecast says low to mid-80s. It's going to be humid, but at least it's not, the sun directly on you, 100-degree weather that happens sometimes in Miami.
Yeah, that is a good point.
They built their stadium right.
Yeah. And if this were the end of the year, then you're worried about weather for, Tua going to play cold weather if it was in Buffalo. But that is interesting that they will be in Miami for this one. We'll see. It should be a great game. We've had some great standalone games thus far as the matchups go, and this one's no different.
Get those votes in. B for the Bills, D for the Dolphins. If you guys haven't already, make sure you are subscribed at youtube.com/chatsportstv. More videos to come here on the channel all week long, including no Thursday live show. Again, there's people got stuff to do for team channels. So we'll have content for you every single day. And Red Zone back again in week 2 on Sunday.